Some of the best countries that you could possibly invest in are the ones that you've either never heard of or the ones that you think are so toxic. But I'm going to tell you why I would run towards those investments rather than away from them. I recently interviewed my friend George Gammon, who talks on YouTube a lot about macroeconomic concepts and his belief on what's coming in the economy. What he's also very well known for is investing in Colombia. He's in Medellin, I'm in Bogota. We both have found tremendous opportunity in Colombia for higher yields, potentially higher growth. We believe the market may have some better fundamentals than many Western markets. And he and I discussed not only investing in Colombia, but also investing in other markets like Turkey that people have written off, that people think are just terrible investments, and why they actually may be great additions to your portfolio. It's your first time here. My name is Andrew Henderson. I'm the founder of Nomad Capitalist. We're a boutique consultancy that helps 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs and investors legally reduce their tax rates by going overseas, protect their assets, and get dual citizenship to make sure they always have options. And here's what George Gammon had to say.
When's the last time you were in Medellin?
Guys, it's been a while since I've been. I was in Cali over Thanksgiving, and Cali's a very interesting place. I don't see Cali as having, it's not as developed as Medellin. It's certainly not as developed as Bogota. It's different. They have their own kind of way of living down there by their own admission. So I never got quite the hype of Cali when I dug into the numbers, but it's been a while since I'm going to come down and see you.
Were you here when they had built the Click Clack Hotel down by Parque Aris in Provenza?
I think so, because it's in Bogota also. I remember seeing that, yeah.
I do have one in Bogota. I was just wondering what your impression of that area is, or just down by the Charlie. A lot of that money is moving from Parque Aris up towards Provenza. And they've made a lot of changes here since I was here last, and that would have been maybe a year and a half ago. So I don't know if you've been here more recently, but I was just wondering what your impressions were of that area and maybe the changes.
I haven't been there in the last, it would have been 2019, I guess. So it's been a couple years, end of 2019, I think. So I think you're the expert on that, but certainly Parque Aris, there's kind of a, I never know that I ever entirely gelled with that area. My challenge in that part of town, Poblado, for example, was you have so many restrictions on some of those places. And again, you would know better than I do, but you have all these tourists who come and create problems in buildings with families. And so I know there are guys who just built, all Airbnb, all kind of short-term buildings to kind of get around that issue. But, for me, some of the areas that were outwards, you're saying it's Provenza, I guess Envigado, always seemed interesting as something kind of up and coming. I think you've got to choose what you want to do. So if I'm going to Istanbul and I'm getting into a neighborhood, or I'm getting into a deal where I just want it to hold its value, get a citizenship, just pay some fees and get that plan B, I probably want to put my money in the established neighborhood where Dr. Oz is coming and putting his money when he buys. If I want to make a return, I would imagine that what you're doing is you're kind of got to be in the cutting edge a little bit more. And so I don't know that that area would be where I would be in Parque Aris.
Yeah, I go there because I know the area well. I know every street, almost every building like the back of my hand. And I know what the comps are. I know what the rents are. I think you focus a little bit more on Bogota, don't you?
Well, I have people who go to Medellin. We have a lot of people in Medellin that we work with. Personally, for me, Bogota, number one, I enjoy the fall weather. I'm getting more fall weather in my diet these days, but that was kind of my first fall weather place. I think for someone who travels internationally a lot, it's a little bit more convenient. You have more of the diplomatic stuff there if you're getting visas or dealing with that kind of nonsense. So for those reasons, I kind of liked it. People there's almost this kind of thing among some people in Bogota where it's like, oh, we're not the Paisas, we know we're not quite good enough. I kind of like, coming from Ohio, I like a little bit of humility, which people elsewhere say the Rolos in Bogota don't have. But I've picked up on some of it, actually.
All right. So for someone who's interested, maybe in international real estate, maybe it's Cambodia, maybe it's Turkey, maybe it's Colombia, what type of yields could they expect? You're just talking about a rental property, like a buy and hold rental property. And what would be maybe some of the downsides and maybe some of the upsides compared to investing in the United States?
Well, from my perspective, the upsides are in many countries, including Colombia. You can get a residence permit, you can get a citizenship, you can work towards citizenship. For me, right now, with everything going on in the world, Most people probably don't want to do so at the level that I'm doing. But I'm working on a sixth citizenship. At some point, I'm going to kind of stop. I have a couple residence permits on top of that. I think having diversification, that if you're traveling, if you want to go someplace, if you need a place, let's say you're in crypto and you have a hard time, they don't want your U.S. passport. I want to have as many options as possible. And so real estate, you go into Colombia, sub $200,000, you get permanent residence and you're on your way. Many countries in Latin America do that. Cambodia doesn't, but many countries here in Eastern Europe do. So to me,
cut you off there, but just I want to insert real quick for the viewers. Yeah. And I don't know if you know this, but that's how I got into Colombia without having to have we'll call it the medicine, to keep it YouTube friendly. Because I had that investor visa.
That's correct. And so people were saying, "Oh, Colombia, it's over." It was kind of on the same pace as Mexico, where it was Colombia, the DR, Mexico, and I think Costa Rica, and now Norway's on the list. That was just wide open. You don't need anything. And then they changed it, and like, no, it's for tourists. So if you're a citizen, if you're a permanent resident, or maybe just even a resident, I think also, then you're exempt from those rules.
They ask you for your cedula. If you got your cedula at the airport, then the only thing you need is a negative test.
Which it's nice, by the way, that they usually don't want to see the cedula. They're like, no, where's the visa? Where's the visa? The cedula is only for inside. Now that they want to see the cedula, it's like a nice turn, a nice twist. But I think that's the reason, quite frankly. I mean, and now look at what's happening in Canada. I want to have options. And by the way, Colombia, for everyone who says, oh, the taxes are high, the tax system is relatively straightforward. It's not like a European tax system. I mean, you can spend a good amount of time there, and it's a very kind of cut and dry tax system before you know you've got to pay taxes. By the way, some of the lowest taxes overall in the OECD when you add it all up. But, yields have certainly been scrunched. I think your deal is an incredible yield for what it is, for turnkey. In Asia, you generally see a little bit lower yields. I think that my friend generally gets, and I get, 6-7% distributions. Now he's managing that, so maybe it's a little bit higher on your own. But in Asia, you kind of need someone to run it. What's that?
That's Cambodia.
That's in Cambodia. I mean, you're getting a dollarized 6.5-7%. That includes someone managing it. In a Turkey, I think you could probably get close to what you're doing, 9%, something like that. But the challenge is you're not going to get it in these best areas. So people need to know what they're getting into. Do you want great yield, or do you want something that's beautiful you would move into yourself? So if you're going to buy in the Shantashi in Turkey, you're probably getting 4% because it's just how it's going to work. So I think if you're doing stuff that maybe isn't quite as livable as you would like, you can be close to 10% still. But certainly those have gotten squished as you see people who have capital they want to deploy. Asia, again, kind of a prime place for that. Maybe Georgia, not as much of a place for that. Maybe it's still 7-8% in dollars. But Colombia, I think, has been one of the better yield places. The reason that fewer people that I work with do it is because they just don't want to be down there to deal with the bureaucracy. In Georgia, for example, even a Turkey, you set it and forget it to pay pay everything. In Colombia, as we were discussing beforehand, there's a bit more going on there, a little bit more bureaucracy.